Mother gets the ultimate revenge by Disturbance channel. Disturbance channel, yes. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, let's watch it.
Those familiar with the channel may recognise this case for its disturbing crimes and the profound failures of the British justice system. But today, the investigation goes deeper than before. Who exactly was the perpetrator, and why was the public not made aware of his historical crimes? This is a case that divided opinion. Meet Sarah Sands. Sarah Sands was a 32-year-old single mother who had been raising 5 children alone. By mid-2014,
I'm sorry, 32 or 42?
Single mother who had been Meet Sarah Sands. Sarah Sands was a 32-year-old single mother who had been raising 5 children alone. By mid-2014, Sarah moved with her family into a council house in Silvertown, East London. She was hoping to make a fresh start. Little was publicly known about the family's past or their previous home, but reports suggest that the move to Silvertown happened only a few months before their lives changed forever. Sarah managed without the support from her children's fathers, instead relying on the state and her mother to help. Her entire life revolved around her children, particularly her 3 youngest sons, Bradley, Alfie and Reese. These lived with her at the time. She had 2 older children as well, but they weren't central figures in the events that unfolded in 2014, and they lived elsewhere. Bradley was 12 and was the eldest. He was outgoing, responsible, and eager to take on new opportunities. He also took pride in looking after his younger brothers, the twins Alfie and Reese. They were 11, and they shared a very close bond. Alfie was thoughtful and quieter than Bradley, but like his brothers, he loved football and spending time outdoors with his friends. Neighbours described all 3 boys as energetic and always willing to help around the estate, enjoying typical childhood activities together. Despite limited resources, Sarah worked.
I think wow, she did actually something, she's 32, what? I don't remember, it's 32 that they said. I'm sorry, I forgot already. Oh my god, I think it's 32. Yeah, you see that even the youngest sons of hers are already very, very big. They are not small kids anymore, they are teenagers or something like that, or around that. I don't know. But they are already grown up. They are not kids. I expect from these 5 would be still have some kids because of her age, but that's not the case.
Tirelessly to instill good values into her children. She cooked their meals, walked them to school, and shielded them from the hardships of life the best she could. Neighbours described Sarah as warm, friendly, and sociable. She was quick to form connections and always willing to help others, especially those in need. On the Silvertown estate, Sarah regularly checked in on the elderly residents who lived there. She was caring and trusting. But in 2014, no one could have imagined how quickly their lives were about to unravel. Silvertown initially appeared to offer a fresh start for the Sands family. The estate they moved into was a typical working-class neighbourhood, with rows of flats overlooking a playground and a primary school. Sarah and her boys quickly settled in and began building relationships with their neighbours. One neighbour in particular soon became a familiar presence in their lives: Michael Pleasted, a 77-year-old retiree who lived alone in the same housing block.
77?
Michael was well known across the estate and was regarded by locals as a friendly, helpful old man who worked part-time at the corner newsagent shop. His grandfatherly manner easily earned the trust of residents, including Sarah. She befriended him shortly after moving in and saw him as a lonely, elderly neighbour who needed some company. Sarah would frequently visit his flat for cups of tea and friendly conversations. She even occasionally brought him home-cooked meals, and later said, "I thought he was a lovely old man." Sarah was thankful for Michael's neighbourly support. As a busy single mum, having someone older nearby who appeared to care about her family felt reassuring. Michael basically became an honorary uncle, with the children calling him Uncle Mick. Neither Sarah nor her neighbours suspected anything sinister about him. Even local authorities had no idea. None of them knew that he was concealing a disturbing criminal past. Over the autumn of 2014, Michael offered Sarah's eldest son Bradley a small weekend job sorting newspapers at the corner shop. It seemed like an exciting opportunity for a young boy eager to earn some pocket money. Sarah trusted Michael and agreed to let Bradley take the job. On a couple of occasions, Bradley even brought with him his younger twin brothers, Alfie and Reese, and they too would help out. However, not long after beginning the job, Bradley abruptly insisted that he no longer wanted to work for Michael. He then grew unusually withdrawn at home. Sarah was busy managing the daily chaos of raising 3 young boys, but noticed that Bradley had become moody and she struggled to get him to open up about what was troubling him. The twins also appeared to be anxious at times and eventually began to avoid Michael's flat altogether. Sarah wasn't sure why, and her mind did not yet leap to the unthinkable. She trusted Michael completely and never suspected what he was capable of when no one was watching. However, in late October of 2014, Sarah discovered the devastating truth about her neighbour. Accounts differ slightly on how the revelation came about, but all agree that it shattered the family. Sarah's twin sons confided in her one evening that Michael had subjected them to SA whilst in his flat. Bradley, who had been visibly distressed for weeks, finally broke down. Sons confided in her one evening that Michael had subjected them to SA whilst in his flat. Bradley, who had been visibly distressed for weeks, finally broke down and revealed to his mother that Michael had abused him too. Bradley began rocking and crying,
they are being abused.
Began pulling his own hair out. Sarah's immediate reaction.
For me, it would be really unthinkable. I mean, the guy is already very, very old. Like, it doesn't seem like, I mean, compared to compared to her kids, like her sons, like the guy seems way more weaker, you know, than them. They seem like very strong, more strong than him. And I'm talking about one of these alone. Like, what's more like 2 or 3 that was with them all the time. I don't understand how this wouldn't be possible without like some kind of I'm not saying, oh God, I don't know, man. It's pretty weird, but yeah, I'm not. Of course, I'm not saying that that doesn't happen, but it's very. I think just because of this, but you looking back at them and looking at the old man, you wouldn't think that something like this would happen, you know. She didn't thought about that, and probably the neighbors the same. Like it's something that you wouldn't think about. They are not like, we're not talking about like 6-7 year old age kids, you know. They are very grown up, you see. I don't know if they don't see to be over 18 already, but they have been like, what, 15, 16 years old?
Was devastation and overwhelming guilt. Reflecting later, she said, "There are no words to describe how it eats you up from the inside. It's horrendous. The guilt, the pain, the sheer shame.
Yeah, I guess no one would think that.
It's my job to protect them. I should have known. It eats me alive." Sarah had trusted Michael completely. She allowed him into her home and believed he was a friend. She now realized that he had betrayed her trust in the most despicable of ways. Sarah did exactly the right thing and immediately contacted the police to report Michael's crimes. Officers quickly responded and arrested Michael at his flat on charges related to SA. The case was handled by Snaresbrook Crown Court in East London. He made his first court appearance in mid-November of 2014. During his hearing, the charges against him were formally read, and a trial date was set for February 2015. Michael pleaded not guilty, strongly denying the allegations and signalling that he intended to fight these charges at the trial. Michael never admitted to any wrongdoing. When confronted, he insisted repeatedly that the children had fabricated their stories and that he was totally innocent. However, the prosecution began looking deeper into just who Michael actually was, and they uncovered some very important information. It turned out that Michael had 24 prior convictions dating back.
What the actual fuck? 24! Oh my god!
In 1970. In the 1970s, he had a 2-year and 9-month prison sentence for indecent assault similar to what he had just been charged with. Then in the 1980s, he was accused and found guilty of the same thing and was sentenced to a further 4 years. Again, later that decade, he served 6 years in prison for a set of serial offences, whereby he again committed indecent assault and full-blown SA on minors. One takeaway also from this deep dive into Michael's horrific past was that he was in fact called Robin Malt. It was after a spree of essays in 1991 that he took advantage of a loophole which allowed him to change his identity. It's at this point that he became Michael. This was a loophole allowing him to move into new communities and workplaces without his record following him behind. Now, because of all of these prior convictions and these new victims, along with him living near a park and a primary school, the prosecution firmly argued that Michael should remain in custody until trial. This would surely be the most sensible thing to do. However, Michael's defence pushed back against this. Michael's barrister emphasised Michael's advanced age, deteriorating health, and his long-standing ties to the community. The defence lawyer also said that he had not been convicted of any new offences for nearly 2 decades before these accusations were discussed. The defence also repeatedly stressed Michael's presumption of innocence and his categorical denial of the allegations.
In my country, after 65, it's very much unlikely. I mean, at any age, you're not barely arrested, but after 65, it's very much unlikely you're gonna be arrested for something. And after you turning 80, it's like impossible. It's like just impossible.
They really pushed that these charges were completely false. And magically, these arguments ultimately persuaded the judge to grant Michael bail. The defence assured the court that Michael would adhere to the bail conditions and to attend his upcoming trial. The court did impose some conditions, such as that Michael was explicitly forbidden from having any contact with anyone under the age of 18. However, the court did not require Michael to relocate. He was allowed to return home to his flat on the estate in East London, the very place where his victims lived. This meant that
this is what I say, like, you don't punish people, they go outside and they... I didn't watch this already, okay? I mean, I didn't watch this yet, but because we know that this happens every time they release someone, they're like, thinking, oh, it ended up just fine, so I guess I'm gonna do again, and I guess I'm gonna do worse, you know? And because we are still in the, like, near the middle of the video, I believe that this guy is still gonna do something more horrible than before. I mean, I don't know, okay? It's the first time I'm watching this as well.
A 77-year-old accused attacker, previously convicted of similar offences and now facing 3 more allegations, was allowed to live just meters away from the children he had allegedly victimised whilst awaiting his trial. Sarah and her boys believed that justice would be served after he was arrested, expecting that the courts would remove this predator from their lives. But sadly their relief was short-lived. After the arrest, they found out the result of the pre-trial hearing. Sarah felt utterly betrayed and terrified for her and her boys. She later expressed her outrage openly, asking the police, "Why would you house a man who has done this to multiple children?" She was furious that the authorities had allowed the safety of her family and other local children to be jeopardized. For Bradley, the fear was almost unbearable. He later described vividly how Michael's flat was so close to theirs that if he opened a window, he could see directly across the road and see his apartment. From that moment on, the family's life spiraled into crisis. Desperate to protect her family at any cost, Sarah...
Of course, would you think, like, your kids were literally victim of a guy that was already did, like, crimes, like, 24 times before, and the guy was released. I'm like, what the actual fuck? How you gonna not fear living near someone like that? The guy can literally do, like, this was planted the card to say, like, you go out, you go live there, and like, just do whatever you want. It's like the justice say this to that. It's like the quote-unquote justice. That's why I always say, guys, we don't have justice. Justice doesn't exist anymore. Justice, I will not even call it an illusion, because if someone still believes in justice, oh my god, that is something very, very wrong with their minds. Like, oh, it's so real, man. Oh, we keep seeing the same thing happening over and over again, and this is words-wise. I mean, I knew things were that bad here, but I'm always getting surprised to see this case repeatedly happen, like in places like, in countries like US. Oh my god.
Turned to the police again for help. But here's the best part. The authorities advised her
I don't
to
know
move
if
her family
it's in
elsewhere
US.
for their safety. With no other choice, Sarah followed their recommendations. She quickly packed some bags and moved her sons in with her mother's.
Look how ridiculous this is. She is the one that has to move. What the fuck, man? Oh my
small
god.
Flat, which was some distance away. The sudden uprooting deeply traumatized the entire family. Practically overnight, they had lost their home and the fragile stability Sarah had worked so hard to build. Conditions at their grandmother's flat were extremely cramped. Bradley later recalled that the family had virtually no privacy, with everyone crowded into one single bedroom. The boys slept together in the lounge, plagued by fear and nightmares. Sarah's mother did everything possible to comfort her grandsons, tucking them in each night and reassuring them that they were safe, but it remained an uphill battle. Meanwhile, Sarah herself was crumbling emotionally. She felt immense guilt for failing to recognize the danger earlier, and was consumed with rage that Michael had remained free and living so close by. Why did she have to move? Why was he allowed to walk free? Each passing day felt
that
like
mess
torture.
with the minds of anyone.
Sarah later revealed that the family received no support from the authorities after the initial police involvement. She said that the system left them all feeling utterly abandoned. Victim support services offered little meaningful assistance, even though the boys were expected to give testimony at trial after Michael pleaded not guilty. Sarah remembers vividly her desperation and frustration at the time, noting that her children faced enormous additional trauma by potentially having to confront their abuser in court. The stress was overwhelming. Sarah's boys suffered breakdowns and panic attacks, and the looming trial intensified their trauma and distress.
Oh my god.
However, Michael would never make it to court. On the 28th of November 2014, Sarah was staying at her mother's flat. The flat was several miles away from their previous home on the Silvertown estate. Early that evening, Sarah had reportedly been drinking heavily alone in her mother's flat. She later told police and journalists that she had consumed either 2 bottles of wine or brandy to cope with the immense emotion.
Oh, I mean, I never had such situation before, of course, so I cannot judge like is she becoming having an alcoholic vice. So I don't know. I don't know if any judgment of her. It's like it's plausible in this situation. It's something very, very terrible, really. Oh my god, this is imagine being in this situation. Oh my god, I don't know what I would be doing. It would be much easier for me to just say what I'm feeling right now. Oh, I of course I would like hate so much the fucking justice and everything as I do already, but I wouldn't do such a thing like she's probably gonna do. I mean, it seems very clear that she's gonna like end the guy's life, you know. But it's much easier for me to say that I wouldn't do such a thing. But I don't have kids. I'm not in her position. I don't know what I would do in her position. Probably I would do the same. I don't know. It's the type of thing that we only know if we live that, you know. Some things are just like that, like
that she was experiencing. She described herself as being in a state of emotional crisis, overwhelmed by grief, guilt, and fear. She paced the flat, staring at photographs of her sons, and became increasingly distressed as the night wore on. It was at the peak of these heightened emotions that Sarah decided that enough was enough. She was going to end all of this strife by getting a confession out of Michael. However, either for her own defense or to ensure she received the confession she deserved, she decided to take a 12-inch kitchen knife on the journey. After 7 p.m, she left her mother's flat in East London.
It's not a knife. No, it's not a knife. I call it like a tool for confession. Yes, like yes, it's a tool for like it's a tool for make easier the confession. You know. Yeah.
CCTV captured her with her hood up,
It's just
walking
a tool.
towards Michael's flat in the neighbouring block. She reached Michael's door and knocked, waiting to look the man in the eyes who had tormented her sons. When Michael answered the door, she confronted him. She asked him to admit the truth. At first, he denied everything and claimed that the children were lying. When Sarah didn't accept his denial, his demeanour reportedly changed. According to Sarah, the mask dropped. He smirked and became arrogant, repeating that her sons were lying and had ruined his life.
Comprehensible,
Sarah
given
later
his
described
situation.
that moment felt like the whole world had frozen. She said she felt a surge of fear, anger, and disgust. Michael started moving towards her, allegedly to grab or push her. So in response, Sarah had her right hand on Michael and the knife in her left. When Michael lunged, she began to strike. She stabbed him repeatedly, in a state of panic and rage. He was stabbed 8 times, mostly in the chest and hands, as he tried to defend himself.
Okay, I have to be honest here. I don't think that you went there like trying to, I don't buy the idea that you went there trying to get a confession, you know. Of course that she had already another plan on their mind, like on her mind. But of course, I mean, she didn't want it to be arrested, so she tried to get a confession first, or even so this probably never even happened. She just went there and stabbed him. We will never know because the guy is not alive, probably. Yeah, I think he's not alive. So she can make up exactly what happened, you know. But it doesn't matter in the end. The fact is that she stabbed him. Of course, given her situation, I cannot I cannot go and say that she did any wrong, you know. I can't. I can't. Look at the fucking situation. But I'm pretty sure that the quote-unquote justice worked very well with her, and she probably is arrested up to this very day.
The attack was sudden, frenzied, and overwhelming. Michael managed to crawl from the living room into the hallway of his flat, where he eventually collapsed. He died at the scene from his injuries not too long after. Meanwhile, Sarah fled, still carrying the knife. CCTV later showed her walking away from the estate. She then made her way back to her mother's flat. When she returned to her mother's flat, she was visibly shaken. About an hour later, she decided to hand herself in to the police. She went to a nearby police station, still covered in Michael's blood, and with the knife in her possession. Officers reported that she was upset and shaking as she admitted that she had killed Michael. "I took care of him. I stabbed him," she told them. The police went and examined the scene. There they found Michael dead in a pool of his own blood. News then reached back to the station where Sarah was being held. She asked the officers if he was dead. When told the news that he was, she replied,
"Oh, he's very
effing
dead.
harmless now, ain't he?" implying that he can no longer hurt any children. Following her voluntary surrender at the police station,
she was already living in a mental prison, you know. She was already living in a mental prison, like, she might have been living in fear, like, every single day. Like, because the guy that did such horrible things to your kids, and not only that, but you discovered that the guy has already done this more 24 times before, like, and the guy's there, like, living his life, like, always. after you go with against them in a trial. Like, how would you live? You keep living like okay near a person like that. I think even after moving, you would still feel like in danger always, you know. After all, the guy was like doing everything that they want on his life with everyone and like living free, without like the guy could just go after them and do something. She was living a hell already inside her head, you know, like, yeah, it's comprehensible, like, it's very much comprehensible. Oh my god, it's so fucking terrible. And now she's arrested, but her mind is probably clear, you know, like, she went from a mental prison state to a physical prison state. She liberated the prison out of her mind, but created in a physical space.
Like. Sarah Sands was arrested and charged with the murder of Michael. Investigators secured several key pieces of evidence linking her directly.
I was never arrested before. I mean, it's obvious, but I don't know. I think if I only had two choices in my head, like living in a mental prison or in a physical one, I would probably live in a physical one, like her did, like, yeah, probably.
Directly to the crime. These included her immediate confession, the full sequence of CCTV footage capturing her movements to and from the scene, and of course, the 12-inch kitchen knife was found in her possession. The forensic evidence was collected from both her bloodstained clothing and the interior of Michael's flat. Whilst held in custody, she consistently acknowledged having stabbed Michael, but stated that she had not set out with the intention to kill. The Crown proceeded to trial at the Old Bailey.
I don't believe in that. I'm sorry, I don't believe it. Of course, like, she admitted that he killed him, that she killed him, but of course she's gonna try to make, like, it looks like the more light as possible, so she can maybe like get the lesser penalty that she can get for killing someone. Like, you know, she's trying the best with everything that she has on hands, like probably with the help of her lawyer, to make and of course, like, I don't think she's wrong in trying that. Like, justice failed her, like, and failed more 24 people as well. So she's not wrong for trying such a thing. No way. Like, she has to do. Yeah, our world is not. We don't have justice. We live in a total state of unfairness. Like, 24 is less 7. Justice is a lie, just to say. Oh God. Yeah, I'm sorry. Let's continue.
London Central Criminal Court in July of 2015. During the trial, the court heard detailed testimony about the events leading up and during the confrontation at Michael's flat. Sarah Sands gave evidence in her own defence and described her mental state at the time of the incident. According to her testimony, the decision to approach Michael that evening was driven by desperation and emotional turmoil following the discovery of what he had done to her children. She stated clearly that she had intended to speak with Michael and persuade him to confess, to spare her children the trauma of testifying in court. The court now heard that once confronted, Michael denied the allegations, reportedly mocked them, and refused to show any remorse. Sarah told the court that his response caused her to lose control. The prosecution accepted the facts of the stabbing, but argued that the killing was deliberate and an act of retribution. After hearing all of the evidence, the jury
Yeah, it's like I said, like, of course they would understand as a retribution only. But, I mean, she has to try, right? She has to try. Of course they understood like vengeance.
Rejected the charge of murder and instead returned the verdict of manslaughter. The jury found Sarah guilty of manslaughter, concluding that she unlawfully killed Michael in a sudden loss of control provoked by his behaviour. In September of 2015, Sarah Sands was sentenced at the Old Bailey for the offence of manslaughter. The presiding judge described the case as exceptional. He acknowledged the gravity of the offence and made it clear that the taking of life must publicly be condemned by the courts. However, he also recognised the unique set of circumstances in which the killing occurred. The court did accept that the killing was not a cold-blooded vigilante killing, but was instead a response to a powerful emotional provocation. However, in delivering the sentence, the judge warned against the normalization of revenge killings and stated clearly that individuals must not take justice into their own hands. Several mitigating
it's always like, it's like here, we have a lot of people that try to do justice with their own hands because our government, the state clearly is not working effectively. So many times we have people trying to make justice with their own hands and work it pretty much well, better, way better, at least for the very little time that they lived, because usually this all ends with the guy that is doing that dying from the hand for the hands of the government, they don't do the justice correctly, and when there is someone trying to do it by themselves or by the others, they say that is not justice, and that's a crime, and etc. And they punish that person. It's so it's so horrible. It's so fucking horrible, man. I fucking hate this shit. You guys have no idea. I think there is nothing that pisses me more off than seeing unfairness and injustice ruining rampant. This really messes with something very, very too much deep inside of me. I don't know how to describe. This make my blood boils. For real, I don't know how to describe.
Factors were identified in favour of Sarah. These included her decision to surrender voluntarily at the police station, her immediate and full confession, her cooperation with the investigation, and her genuine expression of remorse once she was in custody. Based on these factors, and taking into account the impact of the events on her mental state, the court imposed a sentence of 3 years and 6 months in prison. Now, this sentence was notably lower than the standard range for fatal knife offences, which can often result in custodial terms of up to or exceeding 10 years. The judge explained that the original sentence had been considered at 7 years, but he applied a significant reduction. The judge also made remarks regarding the failings of Michael's pre-trial and scrutinised the bail decision. But the case didn't end there. The original sentence was reviewed by the UK Attorney General, who referred the case to the Court of Appeal on the grounds that it might have been unduly lenient. In January of 2016, a panel of senior judges at the Crown Court of Appeal ruled that the sentence should be increased. The panel considered several aggravating factors in reaching their decision. These included the fact that Sarah Sands armed herself with a kitchen knife before leaving home, which suggested a level of premeditation. The panel also considered her failure to seek medical assistance after the attack, and the fact that she left Michael to die. These elements, in the view of the appeal judges, placed the offence in a more serious category of manslaughter. As a result, the court...
Of course, do you ever thought you ever saw someone stab another person, then try to save that person from die? What the fuck, man? What's your say?
The appeal increased the sentence from 3 years and 6 months to 7 years and 6 months imprisonment. Sarah Sands appeared via video link during the...
I'm sorry, how much time?
And the appeal increased the sentence from 3 years and 6 months to 7 years and 6 months in...
It's still not very much, but to be increased, what the fuck, man? I mean, she would take 3 years and now it's 7. It's still not that much, it's not that much. She will still, live a lot after leaving the jail, But the thing is that life becomes more difficult on itself, after leaving jail, it makes it difficult for you to get jobs and etc. I mean, yeah, this is one thing that probably never gonna change.
Imprisonment. Sarah Sands appeared via video link during the appeal hearing. She did not contest the outcome and accepted the revised sentence. It's suspected that she felt relief that her nightmare was over, and 7 years is a fair price to pay for her children's safety. However, the decision to increase her sentence left a large portion of the UK population furious with the judicial system. Sarah was released on parole in August of 2018 after serving approximately 4 years in custody. She spent her sentence at HMP Holloway and later HMP Bronzefield. During that time, she struggled with guilt and at times experienced horrendous thoughts. But she phoned her sons daily and focused on staying strong for their sake. Following her release, she was reunited with her children, who by then were in their mid to late teens. The case had attracted widespread media coverage and sparked a national debate on parental revenge.
Oh, okay, so this photo is after she leaves the jail? Ah, I see, so they were pretty much young when the guy, when the old man did that to them, like they were very like young, yes, they were kids. So they grow up while she was like 7 years on jail. Ah, I see.
Criminal justice and the consequences
now it makes more
of
sense.
Systematic failure.
The guy wouldn't be able to abuse them like the way they are now on the photos. Like it wouldn't be possible. They are stronger than him, unless they somehow like I will use quote unquote here, okay? Because like kids can consent to you know what I mean, like because the guy convinced them to do the things they want, but the guy probably wouldn't be able to do that by force because he's already pretty old, like 77. And if they were like this on this photo, like right here, the guy wouldn't be able to do anything with that.
Public opinion was somewhat divided. A lot of people, particularly parents,
even
viewed
more
Sarah
if together.
as a mother who acted out of desperation and praised her actions as protective and necessary. But there were some people who believed that taking the law into one's own hands.
And there is something that the people are not considering. Like I really worry and fear for what will become of of her kids, because this mess with the minds of the kids, like being abused, and stuff like that. And usually they become the abusers when they grow up. Like they do the same thing that they fall victims. So this is something that you guys always have to worry about, victims of this stuff. They need very much attention and care and too much. So they don't become mentally ill like these people, like. Of course, I'm not saying that everyone who does this bullshit, that's horrible stuff that this guy does, have had some kind of trauma or something like that. But yeah, that it is true that victims of trauma usually become the abusers later from times like. So it's something that they should take care of. So. Like taking the kids to a psychologist and etc. Taking all the mental health care possible to the kids, so the kids doesn't face this end when they grow up.
Could not be justified.
Or don't bring stuff like this to their relations with the girlfriends that they're gonna find later. So they don't become, I don't know, stuff like that too. You guys understand.
Under any circumstances, regardless of motive. The case raised difficult questions about justice, morality and state responsibility. After Sarah's release, her 3 sons chose to speak publicly.
Of course. I wonder what's gonna be like in 10 years, maybe 20. Like, if like a lot of people, like most people don't believe anymore in justice nowadays, imagine it like the way it is like in 10, maybe 20 years. Like, people are becoming so much, like society's failing us. Society is failing everyone. It's pretty much clear. Modern society, or it will have to change to something better. Somehow, I don't know how. I have no idea. Or we'll be totally enslaved to the point like it doesn't matter. And this is what's happening. This is what I see that's happening. We will be totally enslaved to the point that nothing that we want actually matters, because even though we will realize that everything is wrong around us, we will not be free anymore. We will be like, everything will be mandatory. And this is happening already. Like, this is happening already right now. I don't know, but I don't know if they will be capable of like make this 100% or if is still there room for us to become something else. But if we are going to become something else, everything that society has built in modern society up to now has to fall. Everything has to fall because people are tired of all this bullshit. I don't know if everyone, don't speak for everyone, but I'm so much fed up with all of this. I don't have words, like I lack words in English to say all the bad feelings I have on the society. There was someone smoking. Some of my neighbors smoking. The smoke is coming here. It's I just can't stand like smelling it. It makes me hard to breathe, and sorry, it's becoming even difficult to speak. But yeah, luckily the video is near end. So let's finish watching this.
About their experiences. Their account was later featured in a BBC documentary. Each of the boys spoke openly about the lasting impacts of what they endured and, of course, the events that followed. They made very clear that they did not blame their mother for what she had done. Bradley described the fear of living directly across from the man who had harmed him. He said that being forced to see Michael's home every day had been a source of constant fear. Alfie reflected that if Michael had been properly imprisoned, none of this would have happened. The boys stated that their mother's actions made them feel safer. Rhys said it was comforting to know Michael could never hurt anyone ever again. However, he also acknowledged the emotional turmoil, especially the separation from their mother during her time in prison. Despite the trauma, the brothers thanked their mother for protecting them. They credited her with preventing further harm. In later interviews, following her release, Sarah stated that she did not take pride in what she had done, but she felt a relief that Michael could no longer harm anyone else. She said she did not view herself as a murderer and expressed that although she knew her actions were illegal, she did not regret them. She accepted the consequences of her actions and said she had been raised to take responsibility. Sarah later began campaigning for changes to the law to prevent convicted offenders.
Our law should be just, in my opinion, it's just my humble opinion of a two-brain cell person. Like, for me, the law in society just have to exist to secure that the natural law would happen like in the most like correct way possible. What I mean by this, like, you know the guy did something. Everyone knows the guy did something. There is recordings and photos of guy did something. You give that person a penalty, and there is no excuses. There is no anything. You just do it. Like it's supposed to be like that. Like that's the natural law. The natural law, like. I mean, that's not the natural law, but I think that the law should follow the natural law, because, I mean, if that would happen in a society that law, like, by law, I mean the government's law didn't exist, you know what the society, what the people would do with a person that does that. You know exactly what would happen to them if it wasn't for from the old state government and government forces avoiding people to take decisions by their own hands. You know what would happen. So law should be following the natural law to secure that the victim is really the victim, the perpetrator is really the perpetrator. Then after you realizing that, oh, this guy really did this, it's enough. Now you give a fucking penalty to him, and it has to be harsh. Accordingly, oh my God, according to the shit that he has done, you know? And this is not happening anymore. And this is what is making people so fed up. But again, I will say it one more time, because a lot of people are still not aware of that. They just think like they are just failing because they don't know what they are doing or something like that. No, this is all being planned. This is all by design. This is all intended to do. Like, all of this is planned by design by them. Like, all of this is intended to happen to make us lose faith in law, to make us lose faith in justice, And I don't know why they are doing that. I mean, I have some idea, but I don't know exactly why and what else is behind of this. But it's clearly being doing on purpose. Like it's clearly just see how much fast and accurate that they act when there is someone doing justice with their own hands, because they don't want that. They want things like to really crumble. It's that, okay? It's exactly that. You see people like her like getting penalties, and people that do actual crimes, like, of course, like she killed someone, but you guys all saw the reason that she done that. She wasn't like, she shouldn't be on jail, okay? She shouldn't. That's a fact. And people who actually commit crimes like drug dealing and stuff like that, they like 1 week later, they are on the street doing the same thing or worse again. And that's fine. This is all made on purpose, okay? This is all planned. Yeah. Let's keep watching.
From changing their names to escape detection. Her case had exposed how Michael had changed his name to hide his long record of horrific crimes. Sarah called for legislation to stop known sex offenders from concealing their past through legal name changes. She argued that any person convicted of these kinds of crimes should lose the right to change their identity. Her campaign was even supported by several members of Parliament.
Of course.
In response, the Home Office launched a review into a loophole in 2021. The full findings were not published due to security concerns. Despite this, Sarah Sands continued to campaign for legal reform. She stated that someone like Michael should be treated as a national threat, and that the state must take stronger action to prevent repeat offending. The case of Sarah Sands remains a tragic and complex example of a family failed by the system. It began with a single mother moving her children into what she hoped would be a better life. Instead, she discovered that her trusted neighbour was a known and twisted abuser. Sarah took drastic action and she paid a heavy price. But the question is, what would you have done?
Before we go any further, I want to take this brief moment here to thank all of you, my patrons, that support my work here on YouTube, and especially my 5-tailed fox tier member, Zalost, and my 3-tailed fox tier members, Heath Rowell, Fenny Sylvy, and Radmuiel, for the incredible support to my work. Thank you very, very much. You guys are amazing. Also, thanks to everyone who donated to me through Tron, and to all of my YouTube members. You can support this channel life and growth with just $5 a month and gain access to many perks. This is less than a burrito. Check out my Patreon, link is in the description below. Could have been way worse. 7 years is still worth for what she done? Of course 3 would be better, but actually none would be better, but because even if she like stays 1 day in jail, if she was factually arrested for that, like she was done, it would be already to cause consequences on her life, like not being able to do some stuff or rather because she was already arrested for murder, So that by itself is already very much bad, but yes, she lost 7 years of her life, and from her kids growing, yeah, that's very bad. But it's like I said, could have been like way worse. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Check links below, Patreon, Discord, Skillfull and Tron, and support me so I can get the fuck out of this horrible country that I live in as fast as possible. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys in the next one.